For the next hour, Pastor Lindsey-Williams is our guest. In fact, 5 minutes into the next hour, we're going to open the phones up. I know we have callers that were previously holding, but if you, I'm sorry we didn't get to all of you, but if you have a question for Lindsey-Williams about the Middle East, about commodity and oil prices increasing, you're welcome to stay. If not, I'd ask you to please disconnect so others can call in at 1-800-259-9231. Then you'll be welcome to call back in the third hour when we have open phones for everybody and go through a lot of important news. Pastor Lindsey-Williams, going back 3 years ago plus, said oil will go from $60 a barrel to $150 in the next 6 months. Everybody laughed at him but me. It went up to $150. Then he said now it's going to go down to $40. Everybody laughed again. It went down to $40, exactly as he said, on the exact same time frame. And he then said 2 years ago, he said, enjoy yourself. It's going to stay at 60 or thereabouts for 2 years. But then when it starts going back up, it will then race up to 150 or higher, perhaps 200. Now, he wasn't looking into tea leaves or runes or a crystal ball at a roadside gypsy shack. He wasn't consulting the Easter Bunny or doing seances. He worked as the head chaplain. That's a key position just like in Congress or just like on an aircraft carrier. The chaplain's the only person that can walk in and talk to the admiral or the captain whenever they want. And it's a liaison to the men throughout history. He was out there running his own charter company of aircraft on the side, preaching. They liked him, brought him up to the, what they called the Atlantic Richfield Hilton, their own, private hotel for the elites, put him in there for years. And he became the chaplain and sat in on inner oil company board meetings as the liaison to the work crews because he decreased the prostitution, the alcoholism, the fighting. And he was their guy. And he wrote a book, The Energy Non-Crisis, how there was more oil in Alaska discovered than Saudi Arabia and how they wouldn't release it. And now that's been declassified. When he wrote it back in the 1980s, he was laughed at. But it's all confirmed now. He wrote about the deal they'd done with the Arabs to have them invest all of their, most of their money in T-bills. And in turn, the U.S. would keep most of the oil out of the Gulf and out of Alaska and Prudhoe Bay off the market. And they've done that with regulators. That's why the big oil companies fund all the big environmental groups and then gripe and say they won't let us drill. They're the ones that work for them. That's just their shill, their foil, their minion. Their front. And AP sued in 2000, and in 2001, just like Bloomberg sued and got the Federal Reserve documents that most of the trillions went to foreign banks and to private corporations. Same thing. AP sued. We wrote big articles about it at the time. And then again in 2006 when more came out, that the oil companies got together in 95 and 96, the Big Ten, at meetings. And there's the minutes of the meetings, and we link to those in the articles. And AP, again, are the ones that got them. And it was how they met and said there's too much oil. We've already shut down most of the fields in areas we don't control using government to create artificial scarcity. We need to buy up all of the existing refineries that we don't own and shut them down and not expand our refineries. That's how we're going to create an artificial bottleneck. So there's another confirmed how they're doing it. The oil companies don't want you to get the oil. Just like diamonds are only semi-precious, but they're geographically located. So the De Beers is able on record to shut them down and have a 90+% diamond monopoly. So a diamond that should cost $5, they lay on the ground in Africa, costs $10,000. On the scale, they're semi-precious. It's a giant scam. Same thing with oil. And Lindsey then came on here 6 months ago, October 22nd, and he said, and I'm just building this up so new listeners understand why this is important, and Ken Fromm was nearing death, and so he went ahead and revealed Ken Fromm because then he was allowed to. And then Ken Fromm did die in December of cancer, long battle. Ken Fromm was the operations director at number 2 Atlantic Richfield, but not his main source, just one of his big ones. The other guy is the former CEO of a big three. I know his name, not allowed to say. And obviously it's a source. That's how the media works. I get emails going, well, why can't you tell us? Well, that's how, when Homeland Security people federal marshals send me internal documents, how Homeland Security is really for the American people, and it goes into 500 newspapers the next day, and then they're saying, tell us your source, they would be fired if I told you the source. That's how media works. It's called sources. Now, this other source, we can't reveal. We have revealed the other one because he's dead now. They both told him in October because he talked to Fromm, and then he called the other guy, and he said, yeah, that's right, and let me tell you more. You're going to see destabilization. He said, war? He said, no. Crises in the Middle East. That's going to run oil up. We're behind it to 150. Then we're going to use that to decouple the dollar and to start the slide of the dollar. The Arabs will be double-crossed because they've invested in the dollar, and then we'll open up drilling all over North America. But that'll take years to go online. In that interim, oil will go to 150 to 200. Well, Reuters yesterday reports Saudi Arabian government and others are saying $200 to $300 a barrel. Brent crude's 122 today. That's Reuters. Gold hits new record Brent oil above 122. And everything Lindsey said happened. Lindsey-Williams, my friend, good to have you here with us. And you've got more intel for us now today from your source. And so we're very pleased to have you.
Alex Jones, I want to congratulate you for being such a brave talk show host to allow me to appear on InfoWars over the years and say such daily unbelievable things that my elitist friends have told me. I admire you more than you can possibly imagine. There were other talk show hosts that wouldn't even allow me on the air. Many of them laughed at me. You took me on as a friend, and I just say congratulations, because every single thing that they said has taken place exactly like they said. You know, I mentioned to your audience back about 2 years ago where the price of gold and silver was going. Do you realize that it cost as much today to mail an ounce of silver, a silver dollar, as it did to buy it in 1960? Alex, you're to be congratulated. I just sit back here amazed and am always considered such a privilege to be on InfoWars.
Well, Lindsey, you've got the floor. Give us any new information you have, what's happening in the Middle East, where all this is going.
Well, yes, I have been in contact with the other Mr. X in my book, Energy Non-Crisis, 2 different times in the past, about a week and a half. And some of the things I've been given, again, it's like the information they've given me in the past. It's startling. But again, may I say to everyone out there in your listening audience, I take no credit for this. I'm just an ordinary, everyday guy that puts on his britches just like any other man on any given day. And it's by the providence of God that I've known all of this so that I could give it to you over the air here at InfoWars today. The Muslim-Brotherhood, I think this is probably the most critical thing that's been given to me just recently. We are going to give, or we are in the process of giving. Now, this came from my source. We are in the process of giving Egypt and Libya to the Muslim Brotherhood. I think the average person would not have the slightest idea as to how startling this is going to be, because this is going to spread all over the Middle East. And I'm glad that you picked up on that on yesterday, because I did also. Saudi Arabia oil minister on yesterday was interviewed on national news, and he said that the price of crude oil is going from $200 to $300 a barrel. Now, do you suppose this man knows nothing about what he's talking about? He knows things that the average person didn't have the slightest idea of the knowledge of. And he's right. Now, he said $200 to $300 a barrel. I was told a number of months ago that it was going to $200 a barrel. When I heard the Saudi Arabia oil minister say $300, I was startled. They may take it to that, because they've got to do it in order to take the price of gold to $3,000 an ounce. I hope you're hearing this. Gold and silver is such a vital part of this whole thing, because in order to have a new world order currency in the future, they must back it with gold and silver. In order to do that, they have got to take gold and silver to gold to $300 an ounce, silver to $50 to $100 an ounce. I told this on your program back, oh my goodness, it was nearly 2 years ago, that the price of gold and silver was only going to go one way. It's quite interesting. Just the other day, in the last few days, I had a phone call from a friend of mine who is a very prominent businessman over in the Las Vegas area. And he mentioned our conversation of about a year ago. He said, Lindsey, about a year ago I called you, and I said, well, I think gold and silver has gone to its peak. This businessman over in Las Vegas said, that was about a year ago. He said, gold and silver has got to its peak. He said, I think I'll sell it. I'd sell everything I've got. And I told him, I said, don't you dare do that. This was a year ago now. I said, don't you dare sell your gold and silver. I said, it's going to keep going up. He said, no. I think it's leveled out, and it's gotten about as high as it's going. I said, no, it's not. I said, it's going to keep going right up. Well, I talked to him the other day, and he said, Chaplain Williams, I am so glad I took your advice. He said, if I had sold my gold and silver a year ago because I thought it had reached the peak, I said, well, you haven't seen anything yet. I said, you're going to see gold go to $3,000 an ounce. You're going to see silver continue to climb, and it's amazing how some people, and you in particular, Alex, have been willing to accept this information that the elitists have given me over the years, and as a result, every single time it's been exact as they said it. Now, what's going to happen in the Middle East? Egypt and Libya both are being given, did you hear this? I just got this. Egypt and Libya both are being given to the Muslim Brotherhood. Now, right now, Egypt does not have a government. It's in shambles. Wait till September. They're going to elect a new government. All
right, stay there. And notice now El-Baradi, who's admittedly UN minion, has said they might have war with Israel. So we see the stabilization program. They admit al-Qaeda is the core of the group. Now al-Qaeda is the good guys. If you don't like al-Qaeda, you're un-American. Well, then I'm un-American. I know Lindsey-Williams doesn't like al-Qaeda either. The Muslim Brotherhood is British intelligence. Global destabilization program now going into high gear. Dr.